Breaking news. Did Putin survive the Wagner rebellion because of the Orthodox Church? We must not overstate its importance. Nonetheless, I have no doubt that Patriarch Kirill and the other major bishops in Russia made it clear to the Russian people that they view Putin as an ally and a guarantee. The Wagner uprising ultimately failed, but what part did the Russian Orthodox Church play in that? One extreme theory held by some Russian and international interpreters held that Patriarch Kirill and the Orthodox bishops saved Putin, while the other held that they were completely irrelevant, appears to be equally false. Even on their holiest liturgical days, Christmas and Easter, only 2% and 3% of Russians visit their local churches respectively, according to the most credible statistics available. These numbers, however, require analysis. If we take into account the fact that, unlike Roman Catholicism, the Orthodox Church does not consider attending Mass every Sunday mandatory, we see that church attendance is not the only indicator of how secularized a country is. The Moscow Patriarchate has re-established its old alliance with the ruling elite, especially under Vladimir Putin. The Patriarchate organizes the consensus for Putin and collects and reports information about the nation's deepest feelings and moods, while also protecting the Orthodox Church from competition, including by liquidating the Jehovah's Witnesses and other groups that proselytize among Orthodox believers. Even though the declining numbers show that the Orthodox Church's cultural influence in Russia is not uncontested, it is gradually dwindling. During the Wagner incident, the Church was definitely mobilized by Patriarch Kirill to support Putin. On June 24, Kirill made a brief television appearance during which he declared his support for the efforts of the head of the Russian state, Putin, aimed at preventing unrest in our country. He said, "Military confrontation is a test in which, more than at other times, we are called upon to carefully preserve national unity, pray to God, and support the soldiers and each other with all our might. Any attempt to sow discord within the country is the gravest crime that has no justification today, when our brothers fight and die on the fronts, selflessly fulfilling their duty, and when the enemies are making every effort to destroy Russia. While I, as primate of the Russian Orthodox Church, pray for a peaceful resolution to the current situation, I must also appeal to those who, having taken up arms in their hands, are ready to direct them against their brethren. When facing a common foe, it's important to put aside petty differences and work together, regardless of how challenging it may get at times." However, some commentators noted that Metropolitan Tikhon of Pskov and Porkov's statements, which were widely reported in Russian media as showing support for Putin, were actually more ambiguous than that. "Keep unity with those whom God's providence has put to rule Russia," he urged the Russian people. Today President Vladimir Putin bears this burden, cross, and responsibility, perhaps not tomorrow. This person has been known throughout history by a variety of titles, including Grand Duke, Tsar, Emperor, Chairman of the State Defense Committee, and Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of the USSR. The words of Metropolitan Mercury of Rostov and Novarkhovsk, on the other hand, were less discussed in the West but were more consequential. Mercury is not only the head of the significant Department of Religious Education for the Russian Orthodox Church, but he is also a close friend of Kirill. He made these remarks in Rostov while Prigozhin and the Wagner were in power there. The Moscow Patriarchate's website updated instantly with his words. Mercury's message to Wagner was straightforward. "Today, I would like to address the PMC Wagner fighters from this holy pulpit. Our brothers, who are near us in blood, citizenship, and origin. Who, most likely, perform their feats of arms on the battlefield for the sake of the salvation and greatness of our fatherland. The general public is aware of your bravery and integrity in battle. But now I must warn you. Do not give in to temptation. Do not cover the glory of your weapons with the shame of internecine strife. Do not raise your weapons against peaceful people. Do not create a hotbed of tension within our country. Because," Mercury said, "any conflict, no matter how minor, will be seen as an enemy victory. The victory of those against whom you fought, shedding your own blood. Those against whom you stood, paying the ultimate price with your life. I speak to you as the voice of the Church, which prayed for you daily while you were in the spotlight and continues to pray for each of you individually, asking God to keep you safe through the intercession of His Most Holy Mother. For the sake of your mothers, wives, sisters, children, and everyone else you are sworn to protect, I implore you, do not engage in the folly of internecine strife. Don't go crazy on the people who have put their faith in you. I'm making an appeal and asking that you give me a chance to be heard. The context of Mercury's appeal was his claim that Russia is fighting alone against all the countries of the West, which hate our national identity, culture, natural reserves, and territory, and try to destroy Russia through liberal messages. Mercury ended his appeal to Wagner and the population of Rostov, who were largely supporting Prigozhin, with the following: I ask you, do not succumb to temptations, do not believe popular rumors, be faithful to your civic duty, be Christianly submissive to the authorities, remain calm, be prudent. Do you think Putin was saved by these Orthodox Church leaders? This is an excessive assertion. The truth is that they looked to Putin as their savior. Whatever semblance of power they still have was used to pay off Putin. Putin's SCO meeting with Wagner revolt has blown up. In his first international appearance since the Wagner mutiny, Russian President Vladimir Putin assured members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, that the Russian people are consolidated as never before. A united front against an attempted armed mutiny clearly demonstrated the unity and elevated sense of responsibility for the fate of the fatherland in Russian political circles and the whole society, he said. President Xi Jinping of China urged his SCO counterparts to increase their solidarity and mutual trust, and follow the right direction. Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif warned against using terrorism and extremism for diplomatic opportunism, calling it a hydra-headed monster that must be fought with all available resources. Uzbekistan's President Shavkat Mirziyoyev was the most candid of the world's top leaders. He recalled the SCO's achievements but lamented the lack of progress and expected effectiveness in a variety of SCO-wide avenues of interaction in recent years.